Thanks for tuning in to the first episode of Soapshop.shop's YouTube presence. My name is Primo. This is my wife.
Serena.
And today we're making a soap using all products that we found at our local Walmart. The cost per bar is a little bit more expensive this way, but if you want to try out your newfound hobby with local products before investing an excessive amount of time or resources into it before you know if you like it, this is a great jumping off point for you. Anything to say? Anything to add?
Not really a lot to add, but your essential oil selection for your scent or fragrance for the bars will be very limited at Walmart.
And very expensive.
And mine are very expensive.
$5 per half ounce.
Don't be afraid to go with a scentless bar too. If that's how it works out for you, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with just a scentless bar. It still does a great job.
Also worth mentioning, you can feel free to go to Amazon to pick up essential oils and fragrance oils. They're substantially cheaper from Amazon. You can also pick up a loaf mold from Amazon for about $10. That's another investment that's worthwhile from Amazon. But assuming you don't want to do anything through Amazon, everything we've got here, plus a couple substitutions that we're going to include pictures of in the video as we go, you can get at Walmart, which is great. Everybody's got a Walmart.
Though, is we did not look at thermometers for you guys.
I know they sell one in the hardware section of Walmart, and I think it's around $10 to $15, but we didn't price that. We completely forgot. However, if you have a cooking thermometer you don't mind throwing away or saving to use specifically for soaping in the future, most of them have a stainless steel probe, and that's also something that they can use to measure the temperatures of their lye and oil mixtures. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, temperature gun also available on Amazon, $10 to $15. Walmart in the hardware section, $10 to $15, or stainless steel cooking thermometer, which you can sometimes get as low as $5 depending on where you find it. So, great options there. What we've got today, we're going to be mixing our oils in this 8-quart Anchor mixing measuring cup. You can get it at Walmart for $8.97. We're going to be mixing our lye in these two stainless steel 500 milliliter measuring cups. You can get at Walmart a pitcher included here. Those pitchers are PE5, and that is good for mixing lye in. So it's chemical resistant, heat resistant, and food safe. So you can pick up those pitchers for $4.44 on the cheap side, or $4.97 for the larger one at our Walmart. I'm sure your Walmart's much the same, but again, the picture was shown. So rewind, take a screenshot if you need that.
And you can get two of those, one to mix the wax solution and one to mix your actual soap in if you don't want to go with an Anchor measuring cup.
But honestly, for $4.97 versus $8.97, if you think you might be interested in this for the long haul, get the Anchor glass 8-cup measuring cup.
Yes, we love it.
We've got 2 of them. They're fantastic. So we've got our distilled water. You can find that usually in your drinking water section at Walmart. This was $1.22. I remember when it was under $1. It's crazy. Inflation, right?
Showing your age.
I know. And for our mold, we're going to use something kind of unique.
Yes.
This is a juice that we like in our family. It's pineapple, orange, banana, but basically any of these square juice boxes
or
milk cartons, you want to rinse it out real good. And we're going to show you how we cut out the front of this and turn this into a mold for our soap, which is what the knife is for here, for cutting out that box. To insulate that box, we've got just this cardboard box. We've taken pieces of cardboard off for other projects, so don't mind the dilapidated shape it's in.
Yep.
But this is just to cover that loaf mold, and then we're going to wrap some towels over it to insulate our soap so that hopefully it doesn't crack while it's going through this saponification process.
And if your soap does crack in the end, it's really not a big deal. But
it's aesthetic, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a huge deal.
We've also got PPE, nitrile gloves available at Walmart. You can get 100 of them for $9.97.
And you notice we have hairnets on.
Yep.
You obviously don't need the hairnets. You
You can
pull your
definitely
hair
do
back
without
in a
that.
hair tie. But we have them on hand, so we're just using them. We're used to using them when we sew, so that's just where we're at.
We got safety glasses available in the hardware section at Walmart as well. We've just got a couple bath towels, like I said, for insulation. And now for the fun stuff. My lovely wife will show off the things we've purchased.
First up, we have pure tallow.
What is tallow?
That is beef fat, or also known as sodium
Tallowate.
tallowate, yes. So if you see that on a bar of soap, you know now it is tallow. It's just a fancy word for it to get around saying tallow, beef fat.
And
That was
the tallow cost,
was it this one?
no, $5.18 it looks like.
There we go. Yeah.
Looks like it was $5.18 for this 14-ounce jar of beef tallow. We need 11 ounces for the recipe we're going to be making. So that's plenty.
And next up is this extra virgin olive oil.
Which that olive oil is going to run at the most expensive at $13.97 it says.
And we got 17 fluid ounces. So we didn't get a huge bottle, we got the small bottle.
Yep. And then lastly, for oils, we got coconut oil. We picked up one of the cheaper ones. It's $4.94 for 14 ounces, which is great.
And next up we have drain cleaner.
Drain cleaner? What do we need drain cleaner for?
This is our lye.
Lye.
So on the back, you want to make sure.
Under ingredients.
It says 100% sodium hydroxide.
Somewhere on here. Yeah, there you go. Contains 100% sodium hydroxide, which is what we're looking for. There are two types of lye. One, potassium hydroxide, more commonly used in liquid soaps. Sodium hydroxide used in cold processed solid soaps. So even though it says drain cleaner, don't be scared of it. It's perfectly fine. It's in the end, it's the same chemical, which is 100% sodium hydroxide. So perfectly fine. Once it goes through that saponification process with the oils, it will neutralize the lye and will be safe for your skin.
But it is important to note that this is why the PPE is so necessary.
For sure. The
So
gloves,
the
the
long sleeve shirts,
eye protection, the long sleeves, pants,
closed-toed
shoes.
So
You
it's for the lye.
want to protect yourself from that lye. If you do get it on you, don't panic. Go to the sink, wash it with warm soapy water. Some people will claim vinegar, white vinegar neutralizes the lye. Honestly, it's no different than using a warm soapy water on your skin. So just wash yourself thoroughly and you'll be all right. It might dry your skin out, but
look up for yourself, for your own peace of mind, the guidelines of what to do when working with lye before you work with it, please.
solid advice, solid advice. That's our empty Walmart sack. We'll throw it to the side.
And then this is our fragrance oils. We have lavender.
We got 1 fluid ounce of lavender at $4.87 per half ounce. So this here was almost $10.
And then we have lemongrass.
Which, how much do we have of that?
1 ounce total.
Each half ounce again, $4.87.
Yep.
Everything on this table came from Walmart. Here's the Walmart receipt, minus the exceptions that we pointed out, like the pitchers and the scale. We forgot to talk about a scale.
We did create the scale.
We've got this scale. We purchased it from Amazon, but we will include the picture of a scale here.
But if you would like a scale like our scale, I love this scale in particular because it goes into like incremental measurements.
Fractions of a gram.
Thank you.
Where the one
He's
that
very
we showed,
precise.
the one we showed on screen a minute ago goes down to a half of a gram at a time, which is still pretty precise, but we like to be a little bit more precise. So yeah, the one that we showed on screen is almost $30 from Walmart. Again, the one we got from Amazon was around $15. We'll include a link in the video description below for the one we use, but feel free if you want to get everything from Walmart to get that $28 one, it'll work. However, If you don't mind waiting a couple days, Amazon's a great source to get some of this equipment much cheaper, which the cheaper the better in some people's opinion. So also,
We need a whisk, a small whisk, or whichever size whisk will fit in the container in which you plan to mix your lye solution. Okay, so a whisk.
made out of
Stainless steel, sorry. Should
stainless
have mentioned
steel.
that. And then we also have a stainless steel spoon. Now you might have one in your cabinets, but yes, you need a spoon.
It's worth noting at this point that any equipment you use for soaping, you should dedicate specifically for soaping going forward. So we wouldn't use this whisk that we use to mix our sodium hydroxide solution or our oil solution with the sodium hydroxide added. We wouldn't use this to make, say, scrambled eggs the next day. Once we use it for soaping, it becomes a soaping tool for us, and then I think that's a good policy everybody should kind of follow.
What else you might like to have would be a spatula. There isn't one on my table right now for me to flash up for you,
But we will end
spatulas
up using one.
are
And
nifty.
here's one from Walmart on the screen. And
I think that is everything, right?
I
Oh,
think
solo cups.
solo cups are great for measuring your
measuring.
oils. So I think that just about does the what we've got, what we need. So we'll be back here in a minute. All right, before we get on with making the soap, I figured we'd go ahead and turn this juice box into our mold. And what we're gonna do, we're just gonna cut out the whole front face of this box. All of this we're gonna cut out, which will leave us a nice open kind of shape. And yeah, so let's get started there. Never cut towards yourself like this. So we'll put our knife in facing away from us. There's our mold. That simple, and this recipe should fill this mold quite nicely. So we will see you back here in just a second to start making our soap.
Hi, and we're back to measure out our water and lye.
Before we do that, earlier we mentioned we were going to use two 500 milliliter stainless steel cups. And the reason we're going to use two is what?
Because we like to mix in one and then strain into the other one before we mix it into our oils.
So why do we strain our lye?
Because sometimes all of your lye will not be dissolved. And then you don't want that undissolved lye to be dispersed throughout your soap loaf in the end process. That creates caustic spots in your soap that you don't want to use on you, your children, your loved ones, anyone.
So how do we tend to strain our lye solution? What do we usually use?
We usually use this strainer. Alternatively, you can use cheesecloth though. And that is handy, especially if you have cheesecloth and a rubber band to keep it secure around the top of your container that you are straining into.
What's our strainer made out of again?
Stainless steel.
We got to use stainless steel because lye is caustic and it will dissolve certain materials. So
You can also, remember, use PP5 plastic. So
true.
it doesn't have to be stainless steel. We like the stainless steel. We use the stainless steel. You don't have to use stainless steel for this.
Especially since these cups aren't sold at Walmart. So again, we'll include a picture of the pitcher that we found here. And we'll continue.
Yes. So for our recipe we are using, and you will find it in the link below, hopefully, if we can figure that out. We need 10.74 ounces of liquid, which is our distilled water.
Want me to pour that?
Yeah, actually, that'd be nice.
10.74 ounces. That's good. So there's our water. And next we'll measure out our sodium hydroxide, lye, drain cleaner, whatever you want to call it. Always remember to tare your scale between measurements because every solo cup, although they look the same, will weigh slightly different amounts. And we need 4.8 ounces of lye.
Now you will also maybe have noticed that in our description of the products you need for this, we did not include an immersion blender. That's because we are going to just assume that most people don't want to jump in and have to spend money on a quality immersion blender or any immersion blender if they don't have to do so. So that's why we recommended the stainless steel spoon from the jump.
All right.
If you do have the income to throw to an immersion blender straight away, that is perfect.
And it is well worth the investment. They're about $20 and it has been transformative for soap making. So
Yep. But again, you can grow into that later. No rush.
for sure, for sure. At this point, I think we're going to cut the video. We like to mix our lye outside. So what we do, we're going to add our water to our cup, and then we're going to add our lye to that water. We need to do it in that order for a very specific reason, which is
you never mix lye or water to lye. You just don't do it. It becomes
I guess it's dangerous that way.
well, it creates, you add it in it and it makes the lye particles come out and you're more likely to get burned and everything else. You have less control of it. Just don't do it. Always mix lye to water. Never ever water to lye.
So we'll add our water to one of our stainless steel cups. And from here, we'll cut and go outside, add our lye to our water. We're going to mix it with a whisk. And we'll return here in about 10 minutes after all the fumes have kind of off-gassed from the lye solution. Some people will do this in their kitchen with the
oven fan on?
The oven fan, the vent, if it goes outside of your house. Now, if it vents back into your house, I wouldn't do that. That seems counterproductive, but...
Why we don't do it.
Yeah, but so outside is a safe thing. We have a nice carport that's kind of covered. We have an out-of-the-way spot that we mix our lye on so that it kind of stays safe from people passing by
or
animals or anything like that. So we'll see you back here in just a minute.
Now we're going to be measuring out our oils as per the directions on our paper. And for olive oil, we need 11 ounces. Beef tallow, also 11 ounces. Coconut oil, 11 ounces.
Perfect.
Oh, and also, we should have put on our safety glasses before we measured out our lye. So don't be like us. Please put on your glasses before you measure out your lye.
Yeah, that was a little oversight on our part, but we'll make sure we've got them on when we filter and strain our lye and add it to our oil solution. So. There's 11 ounces of olive oil.
Let's not forget to tear out our scale.
Tearing is basically just resetting the scale to 0. So every solo cup weighs slightly different amounts from each other. So every time we use a different cup, we reset the scale to 0.
I hope you guys have an easy time finding all the ingredients for your soap. I'll tell you what, we did not have such an easy time. Our Walmart is in the middle of remodeling, and oh my goodness.
Everything is scattered around everywhere, but you should find your lye in the hardware section next to the drain cleaners like Drano and things like that. You'll find the olive oil, the beef tallow, and the coconut oil in the baking aisle where you find flour and sugar. And distilled water, again, should be where you find bottled water and drinking water in your store. Solo cups will generally be with paper products. And the fragrance oils are with candles. So that's the last thing you might have trouble finding is fragrance oils.
Make sure they are 100% fragrance oils, okay?
Or 100% essential
oils.
oils.
I'm sorry, I misspoke.
Which we've got 100% lavender essential oil. So, and the same for the lemongrass, 100% essential oil.
Oh my goodness.
Let me cut that up for you in here.
Yeah, thanks.
We're looking for 11 ounces again of this oil, so we're kind of just scraping until we get there. That's 10.34. That puts us at 11, 11.1. It'll be all right.
Yep, it'll be fine. I guess I did just throw that right in the pot, didn't I? But
that's all right. We need to add our solid oils to our 8-cup glass mixing bowl, and we're going to microwave them to get them liquefied for 1, and 2, we want them within 10 degrees ideally of our lye solution. Today, because we're making soap by hand using a whisk instead of an immersion blender, we're going to soap a little bit hotter than we normally do. We normally soap at right around 100 degrees, but today we're going to shoot for...
We're going to shoot for about 140, 135.
There we go. So right now she's measuring out the beef tallow. Again, we're looking for 11 ounces of that. And we'll show you the jar of what the beef tallow looks like up close when she's done so you know what to look for. If you're looking to make a vegan bar of soap, obviously you're not going to want to use the beef tallow. For our normal recipe, instead of beef tallow, we use palm oil. I have seen that some people are making soap using Crisco because the new Crisco recipe is made with soybean oil and palm oil. So maybe we'll do a video on making soap with Crisco in the future.
I would like to do that, yes.
Yeah, that'd be a good one, I think. But until then, this was a nice, simple, easy recipe from things that you can find at Walmart. And it's going to make a great bar of soap, I think.
And our first bar of soap also used tallow because I'm doing it much like it. We are now piecing it together to be economical as possible and going from there.
We figured out the cost on this soap, and it looks like we should produce about 9 bars of soap. Each bar is going to cost us about $6.50 to produce, which is a lot higher than we normally get. Normally we're around $1 per bar. So doing it with all locally sourced ingredients from a local Walmart is possible, but it is much more expensive. So this is again a proof of concept, or a trial run, if you will, for the beginner soap maker who doesn't want to invest a lot of time, effort, or money into this hobby before they know if they're going to like it.
Yeah. Now, if you do like it after this, a supplier that we would recommend working with, because they have always been amazing with us, has been Brambleberry. That's where we get our oils from. And we've had a couple issues before, but they are fixed so quickly.
And the issues weren't even their fault. Like
No, they were not.
we had a bag of colloidal oatmeal explode during shipping. They replaced it without any questions asked. I mean, they're just a great company to work with. And we compared prices to Wholesale Supplies Plus for the oils we use. And actually, we get about 7 pounds more oil for about $30 to $50 less money from Brambleberry as opposed to Wholesale Supplies Plus. So, worth knowing. Right now, she's adding olive oil to our oil combination.
And all this will be put in the microwave for probably, well, I like to do the first microwave for a minute, and then after that, 30 seconds increments after that with our heat gun to check temperature and make sure that nothing's going strange.
True.
So,
Also worth noting, if you do use an infrared thermometer or a heat gun, like she calls it, you'll want to stir your solution before you measure the temperature with that thermometer. It will only measure the surface of whatever it is you're measuring. So
true. And I should stop calling it a heat gun, probably. My kids call it that, so it's just kind of stuck. Despicable Me, I think, kind of influenced that.
All right, so let's get this in the microwave and we'll see you back here in just a second.
And we're back with our lye solution and oils sitting at 136 and 130. So
they're within that 10 degrees we want.
They are.
That's
it's pretty perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and strain our lye solution, and I'll let him do that.
We're going to go ahead and we've got our 2 stainless steel cups. We've got our strainer made out of stainless steel in the 1 empty cup. And we're going to pour our lye solution through that strainer.
Slowly, right?
We want to pour slowly, like she says, so that we don't splash it back, because it can really damage your eyes. Now that we've got that strained, we'll remove the strainer from the new cup, put it in the first cup, and we'll put that to the side. And we're done with that cup now. Now we have our strained lye solution and we have our oil solution.
And that would go much the same way if you had opted to use the cheesecloth. So you would just set that aside as well.
True. The cheesecloth is a great way to strain. We used it before we had our stainless steel cups or strainer, and it works out great that way. Just fold it over, get a couple layers of cheesecloth to pour through so that it's kind of a thicker, more refined filter. Now we're going to add our lye solution to our oils, but we want to do that carefully. And how do we want to do that?
I'm going to pour the lye solution down the handle of the spoon, not the top of the handle, but towards where the scoop part would be. Now, if we were using an immersion blender, I would pour the lye solution down the stick of the immersion blender, just to prevent splashing or anything like that from happening.
Or adding air bubbles to your mixture. That was the other reason we want to do it, because we want to avoid having as much air in our solution as possible. You'll notice all those little air bubbles in your final bar of soap if you add a bunch of air to your mixture while you're mixing it.
Now, if we were using an immersion blender, we could very well be soaping at a much lower temperature. Like we said earlier, we generally like to soap at around 100 degrees. But because we are doing this by hand with a spoon, we have opted to soap at 130, 140. So now we just mix and mix until the batter starts to thicken up and we get a trace. Maybe that would be good.
They said in the article I read to use it, but I can cut this part of the audio out.
Now, I've never done it by hand before, But this is kind of a neat experience.
Mic doesn't appear to be on.
I don't have anything worth saying today, it says.
Her mic wasn't on. Sorry. So hopefully you picked up some of what she was saying through my mic. Call that a technical difficulty. We'd go back and refilm, but since we're already this far in the process of making soap, we can't. So
It's all in.
basically, she said she's going to stir it with the whisk. We're going to stir until we get to what's called trace, which is basically where when you pull the whisk out and you drizzle some on top, it leaves a little mark, like a line, a trace, if you will, across the surface of the solution.
Think of it like when an airplane flies across the sky and you can see where the tail is. That's kind of what a trace does on top of your soap whenever it reaches trace. You can see the little tail of where you drug your spoon and the drops landed. Does that make sense?
And now sometimes, she's going to stir this for a while, but sometimes adding your essential oils will accelerate trace, which will actually make it come to trace faster, which, you know, everything's getting pretty well mixed at this point.
So we could definitely add the
So we'll
oils now.
We'll start adding our essential oils now. We're going to go pretty slowly. Another great reason to be wearing gloves, essential oils can dry your skin out if you use too many or have too much contact with them. Oh.
Yes, and they will strip color from things. I don't know. No, I guess it's not this scale, but my last scale, it strips the color from the scale, so.
They do have this little plug in the top of the bottle so that you can disperse a drop at a time. You'll have to use your fingernail or a butter knife or a flathead screwdriver to pop this little plastic plug out from each bottle. And then we're going to go ahead and add our oils, our essential oils, a ½ ounce at a time. And it already is starting to smell amazing. That was a lavender. And you can really smell that smell. Smell that smell.
Lavender lemongrass is such a staple scent combination in our household.
Yeah, it's one of our favorites.
Mm-hmm. We always try to have a good amount on hand.
And now we've got a lemongrass we'll add to the mix. Prepare another lavender for us. For this recipe, we're using a medium, moderate amount of fragrance. You could add more fragrance to it. I wouldn't add more than another ounce personally. But you can add less if you want a more mild smelling soap, or you can add up to another ounce if you want a more intense smelling soap.
We do not like overly scented bars in our household, so we typically don't soap with maximum scents. But that's personal preference, and you just follow your heart on that, as long as you're safe, within the safe realms.
Want me to give it some mixing?
Yeah, if you want to.
It looks like it's mixing on the bottom, but not the top.
I've never felt so in tune with my ancestors before.
it is a process when you're doing this by hand. With an immersion blender, at this temperature, we would pretty much already be at trace.
We would already be soaping. Like, we would already have it in the mold right now. With a stick blender, you only need to pulse a few times before you will be reaching trace. It goes fast at this temperature.
We'll probably speed this part of the footage
I think
up.
you're getting closer. Look. No? Ah, I lied.
We'll probably speed this part of the footage up so you're not sitting through the painstaking hand mixing part of the video. But suffice to say, it takes a lot more mixing by hand than you would expect.
Yeah. And if you were to mix with a more high concentration of olive oil, that mixing time would just increase so much. Do you want me to take it back for you?
Sure. All right, we're back after about what?
About 45 minutes of stirring.
About 45 minutes of stirring. That's truly brutal. You don't realize when you're making soap just how important that immersion blender really is. Not just for the time saving, but I don't know about you, my arm's sore.
Yes. I think I am out of doing dishes for like a week.
This, like I say, proof of concept, just to prove you can do it from everything you can get from Walmart. Ideally, instead of using a juice box for a mold, you would use a actual soap mold that you can buy from Amazon. Sure, go get one for them. These soap molds sell for about $10 on Amazon. They include the wood base and the silicone liner, which really nice. You can take the silicone liner out of the wood mold and you can kind of peel your soap.
There we go. No harm, no foul.
We'll start over. Hold that.
Okay.
All right. So this is the mold. You can get them from Amazon for about $10. And the nice thing about them is the silicone lighter pulls out of the mold and you can kind of peel your soap out of it. But today we're going to be using the juice box mold just to prove that it can be done. Our soap base is at a medium trace, which is when you drizzle some across the top, it leaves some marks behind. You can see where you drizzled it behind, like a plane trail, as she was saying earlier.
We might be able to demonstrate that. I don't know if you'll be able to see it from back there, but we will see.
Oh yeah,
Right.
That's beautiful.
You see that?
Oop. And at this point, we'll go ahead and pour it into our mold.
Yes, if you can get an immersion blender straight off the jump, I would highly recommend that. Unless you have, I don't know, a team of people ready and willing to sit around and stir batter.
Getting the immersion blender and the mold from Amazon are both worth the investment, even just for a hobbyist, not even for a professional. Between the two of them, you'll spend about $30 and it'll make your hobby soap making 1,000,000% more enjoyable. I mean, it's just a night and day difference. So at this point, what do we do with the soap? We want to do anything to...
Yes. So at this point, you want to kind of pick up your container and then slam it on the table a couple times. And that just releases some of the air bubbles that may be trapped in your batter.
So kind of
come up out of it.
Kind of a tap.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And then next we would put it somewhere that we could leave it set for about 3 days. And you want to cover it and insulate it with towels.
So that would look kind of like taking your box, putting it over, and then taking a couple of towels.
I would generally put a towel under, probably, and then towel on top and just kind of meet them up. But whatever works for you.
Just like that, yeah. And we'll see you in a couple days to cut this soap.
Oh, and be careful because while it is setting up and going through the saponification process, the soap will get to about 180 degrees potentially, and that is hot enough to burn. So make sure that you do leave it somewhere that kids, animals, anyone unsuspecting will not come across it.
Perfect. Great. Well, we'll see you back here before you know it. It'll be a couple days later. Due to the magic of editing, it'll seem like no time has passed at all. So we'll see you in a second.
And we're back. This is about 24 hours later. We were planning to unmold even further from now, but we did the poke test, which is a very technical term, I can assure you. And our soap loaf was very hard. I don't know if you can see that, but it's very hard.
I mean, it's very hard, very solid, very fast.
So we wanted to cut while we could still presumably easily, hopefully cut it. And I guess we will do that next. Oh, and what we forgot to mention last time was that before you set your soap up to be insulated for setting up, you want to spritz your soap with rubbing alcohol, as high of a rubbing alcohol content as you can get it, 91%, 99%.
We use 99%, yeah.
Yeah, so if you have that or if you can get it, that's great. If you don't have it, it's not a huge deal. Your soap will just have ash on the top, and this soap loaf does have ash. It doesn't mean anything bad. It's just where
the top layer is oxidized, basically.
Yeah.
So we're going to switch to the aerial camera and we'll get the cutting.
All right, now we're going to take a butter knife and slide it around your mold. As you can see, it's already been started on these sides, but it hasn't been done up on the top edge. And hopefully it is simple enough. And if not, we can sacrifice the mold if it doesn't come out easily. So it's all good.
We really like these molds, as you would call it, for beginners because it gives some new life to what would otherwise just go straight in the dumpster. So it's a great way to kind of reuse something, but sometimes the molds themselves, they just stick too much to the soap and you can't use them again. But that's fine. Using it one time again is better than no times again. Let's see if we can kind of push it out through the bottom.
There, you got it.
And we're just going to have to rip the mold a little bit here because it does not want to come loose today. Little sample soap.
Yeah, I tried to cut like across, you know.
And there we go. Boy, it's really stuck to the bottom. There we go. There is our loaf of soap.
Yes. May not look the prettiest right now, but I'm sure she will later. Do you want to just put these back in the mold for now? Instead of on the cutting mat?
Probably smart. All right, at this point, we're going to go ahead and cut the soap. It's like cutting the cheese, only classier. First thing I'm going to do is square off this loaf where we had the top of the mold. And we'll set that aside. Now I've got just a regular tape measure here. We're going to measure out 1-inch bars, if you'd hold that for me. And we're going to cut these at 1 inch thick.
Of course, you can decide your own thickness. 1/2 inch, 1.5 inch. You decide what you like and how you like it.
And so we're using right now to cut just a standard kitchen knife, which you'll see cuts right through, no problem. And since it's longer than the soap is, it'll cut a nice straight line. But it does take some muscle. You do have to exert quite a bit of force on the knife in order to press through the soap. And there's the inside. Looks like it started to gel. I would think, yeah?
Yeah, it looks like maybe it did.
Which gel phase is basically when the soap gets above a certain temperature for a certain amount of time. It starts to change the appearance of the soap, and you can kind of see the outer part which stayed cooler versus the inner part where it was a little bit more insulated and warm longer. Also for cutting, we mentioned that there were some things you could purchase from Amazon if you had a couple days before you were making your soap. And if you were to do that, there are a couple tools that you can generally find with your mold for about $13 total. So we've got this straight cutter, which is just a nice smooth blade that'll cut the width of your soap. And it'll also come with a crinkle cutter, which you can kind of see the waviness of the blade. So
maybe use that one here and here so they can see it.
yeah, we'll go ahead and demonstrate both of these for you. So we'll line up with our 1-inch mark, push down. This is much easier than the knife is because the force is kind of exerted more centrally with the handle. But you get this really nice crinkle cut finish.
Well, if you do it on this bar, they can see what it looks like on the whole bar.
And we'll follow the wife's instructions and hit it on both sides for you.
Thank you.
And there we go. So for $13, you'll generally get both cutting tools and your wood mold with the silicone liner, which, like I say, if you've got a day or two to wait for your stuff to get here from Amazon, you're going to pay less money than going to Walmart for it, and you're going to have a more broad selection for less money. So lastly, I'll demonstrate the straight cutter. Well, not lastly, I'll demonstrate one more thing as a little bonus for you after this.
And if you do use your kitchen knife after this, you can just wash it really well and use it back in the kitchen if that's the way it works out.
Yeah, because the soap has already gone through the saponification process, it is safe to just wash and reuse your instruments. As a little bonus,
you will put these guys on a shelf or like on a tray for 4 to 6 weeks to finish curing before use, okay?
That's true. Curing is more important, as important or more important than the rest of the process itself. If your cure doesn't happen, your soap's going to just wash down the drain. It will not last.
And the soap may be harder on your skin than after a full cure.
As a bonus, we'll use this cutter. We're going to turn this piece sideways and cut them 1 inch this way now, up and down. First, we'll take off that front piece. And this cutter is amazing. I think we paid about $50 for it. it sets your depth with a stop block, so you get consistent bars.
And it's much easier on your joints than
Much
trying to be.
easier, especially compared to a knife.
Alternatively, you could use a cheese grater off of Amazon. I think those go for
A cheese
around-
slicer, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I said grater.
Yeah,
Yes.
a grater would not be what you
No,
want.
let's avoid that.
Well, we're back looking at you instead of looking at soap. Hope you enjoyed the video. It's been a fun one. If you have
Yes.
any questions,
Just comment them and we'll
Yeah.
try to answer any and all questions we can. Hope we've been as clear as we could be. Going forward, will never again hand stir a soap, will
yeah,
you?
no, definitely not. That is brutal. Investing in an immersion blender is so worth it. And like we said, about $20 on Amazon gets you one. If it's around Black Friday or Prime Day, you can get one for $15. So if you're doing that, pick up a soap cutter of some form. The wire cutter we showed at the end, we paid $50 to $60 for. The two cutters in the middle, like we said, you can get with the mold for about $13, $14. So pick that up and pick up an immersion blender if you think you're going to be interested in this. Don't let hand mixing soap for 45 minutes deter you
No.
from your hobby.
Actually, if you can, just hold off on making your first batch of soap until you can get the immersion blender. I don't think I would have stuck with it with my first experience being hand mixing.
If I
the
knew I
batch.
had to do that every time, there's no way.
No.
No way.
So,
Hey, if you like the video, smash that thumbs up button. It really helps the channel out a lot. And since we're just starting fresh with this one, we would appreciate every single like we could get. Also, if they want to see more of us,
yeah,
they should subscribe, right?
absolutely.
And if you do subscribe, hit the little bell to turn on notifications. That is also very helpful for the channel, and it's helpful for you. That way, when we do post new content, it notifies you instead of just being there for you to stumble upon at some random time. So, great things to do there. Any final thoughts or anything to say?
No, but it's been fun.
It's been real fun, and this soap smells incredible.
It really does.
We used lavender and lemongrass, like we said, so that's a combination you're free to try, and it is a great combination.
We love it.
Also, worth noting, some people are afraid beef tallow soap is going to smell like animals or like food.
It will
Definitely not. There's no smell to it other than the lavender and lemongrass. So, thanks for bearing with us, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we hope you have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.